Hey everyone, it's Marie and I'm back. I'm doing another video. Today I'm showing you a few cards that I have created using some Spellbinders stamps and dies. These are designed by Stephanie Lowe and I really love the designs of these stamps. So here is one that I've used. As you can see, I stamped this lady out and I colored her with my alcohol markers. And I'm going to be using this stamp today to kind of create some more flowers that I'm going to go and embellish around this girl here. So like I said, I already went ahead and colored this image in. It took me a while to do, so I didn't really do it on camera. I was kind of playing around with my colors and things, and I like how she turned out, so I'm going to go ahead and use her on a card. Now I'm getting my die lined up. I'm going to adhere it in place with my purple tape. I really love this purple tape. It does not tear your paper or leave any adhesive residue on your dies when you're done with it. It's very low tack tape, so it works really great for die cutting and different techniques in your paper craft. But I'm just running it through my Sizzix here, and I've got her all cut out. Set her aside as I'm going to build the rest of my card. Now, like I mentioned, I'm going to be using these flowers to build some embellishments around my lady, and I'm using them in my Misty along with my Brutus Monroe detail ink. Now this ink is really great for coloring using any medium really. It doesn't smear whether you're using watercolors or zigs or alcohol markers. Today I'm using alcohol markers, so I'm going ahead and I'm stamping these out. I stamp them several times so I get a nice dark impression, and then when I'm done stamping all my flowers, I am going to hit it with my heat tool to make sure that they're nice and dry before I color them. So now all of my flowers are stamped out. I have them here on my Sizzix and I'm adhering down my dies so that I can cut them all out. One thing you want to keep in mind when you're going to be cutting out a lot of images is when you're stamping them all on a sheet of paper, make sure that you leave enough space between them so that your dies can cut them out and not cut into the other images. There's a few flowers that I was not able to use from this piece of paper because I stamped them too close, so I thought maybe I would just mention that here in my video. So I'm just running it through my Sizzix. I'm going to go ahead and cut out all of these little flowers, and then I will be coloring them using my StyleFile alcohol markers. So here's all my flowers cut out. I've got my stamped and colored lady here. I'm just going to be going and sort of embellishing her with all of these flowers. I thought she'd look really nice if she had all these flowers just surrounding her, and I'm going to be using colors that coordinate with the colors that I've already colored her with. So I'm just kind of trying to eyeball this to see what it might look like when I'm done coloring all these flowers, and I'm getting an idea of how I want to build my card. So I'm going to kind of set her off to the side so that I can still see the colors that I used, but that I can go ahead and color my flowers. Now these are my StyleFile alcohol markers. They're kind of alternative markers to some of the more expensive brands that you might see, but I really love them. They blend really well. I don't have a ton of colors, but I'm able to color most of my images that I want to using these markers. And they're just really easy to use, especially if you're a beginner like myself and you don't want to blow your budget on some of those more expensive markers. So when I'm coloring with my alcohol markers, I like to take my lightest color first and put some of that down. And then I usually go in with a mid-tone and then a darker shade of whatever color I'm using. So here I went ahead and I put a light yellow down, and I'm coming in with a little bit darker of a yellow. And then I'm going to be putting sort of an orange on the very inside of this flower here. And so I have those 3 layers of colors that I'm going to be blending together. Now once I have my colors all down onto my petals, I'm going to blend them out using that lightest color again. So I'm putting a little bit more of that mid-tone here, and then I'm going to be going in with my lightest color as well. And I like to just kind of keep layering my colors and blending together until I get the look that I want. Now I'm going to be using a lot of yellows and oranges and reds on these flowers to kind of help them all coordinate and help them coordinate with that lady that I've already colored. Now I'm going ahead on the inside. I kind of like to test some of my colors on a piece of scratch paper before I color with them, just to make sure I know what they look like on the paper. And I'm layering in some darker colors towards the center of this flower. So I put a little bit of orange down, a little bit of light red, and I'm going to be doing a little bit more darker red in the middle of this flower here. I'm using my mid-tone yellow that I used on the outside petals. I'm putting down a layer of that, and then I'm going in with some other reds. I'm really going to make the center of this flower be a nice deep red. I'm blending out that orange again into the rest of the flower so I get a nice blend. And now I'm just going into the center of the flower with some of my reds. Now you can see on this lady that I've colored, I put a few highlights using my gel pen, and I like to do that, add a little bit of detail because it just adds something to the image and it makes it pop, something a little bit different. So I'm going on all of the flowers that I'll be coloring today and adding some of those gel pen accents. So I have all my flowers colored. I'm having them arranged on my flower the way I like them, and sometimes I find it helpful to go ahead and take a picture. When I have things arranged the way I want them to and I want to remember how I had it before I adhere everything down, sometimes it's helpful to take a picture. I've also noticed that it's helpful to take a picture because sometimes it helps me to see better if I need to move something around. For some reason I can see it in the photo rather than looking straight at my project. Sometimes it gives me an idea of how I want to change things around to make it look a little better. So taking a picture is definitely something that might help you if you wanted to try that in the future. Now I'm going to be doing a little bit of stenciling on the background. I have all the flowers going on, all the coloring going on. I don't want to take too much away from that, but I did think the background needed a little bit of something. So I'm taping down this sort of this swirl stencil from Brutus Monroe. This was an add-on from their mermaid inspiration box, and I can't remember. I think it's called Tangled Waves, but I'll look it up. I'm just taping it down with some more of my purple tape. And I'm taking my ink blending tool along with some rock candy surface ink, and I'm just blending a little bit onto the background. I want to keep this really light because, like I said, I don't want to take away too much from the flowers that I'm going to be adhering onto this, but I thought it would be nice to have something a little bit different in the background. I'm using this light blue because I did color our lady with a little bit of light blue on her outfit, so I thought that would coordinate a little bit and kind of just tie the whole look together. So I'm just really lightly in circle motions blending on a little bit of this ink. Like I said, I don't want it to get too dark. I don't want it to take a whole lot away from the die cuts that I'm going to layer on the front. So I'm just doing a little bit of ink blending. It's kind of hard to see this little ink blending in the pictures and the photos that I'm posting on my blog. When I took photos of it, it didn't show up really great in the background. But when you look at it in person, you can see the swirls in the background, and I really did like the way that it turned out. So I'm just keep adding on some layers until I find that it's the way that I like it. So you can see that it's really light there in the background, but it adds a little bit of detail without being too overwhelming. And I thought it really made the card look a little bit more tropical. So I have my little lady on here. I'm going to be adding on all my die cuts again, referring to my photo that I took to make sure I have things similar to the way that I had arranged them before dumping them all off. And now I have all of my flowers arranged here. Now the tricky part is to go ahead and adhere them down. It's kind of hard to figure out how to adhere them down without them moving around too much. But I like to just kind of do it slowly. I'm using some liquid glue. This is Brutus Monroe Craft Glue because that gives me a little bit of wiggle room before things are adhered down permanently, so I can slide things around a little bit as I need to change them. And I'm just trying to grab the flowers that are going to be in the back and adhere those first. So I'm working from the back to the front, if that makes sense. So I keep bringing my my girl in here and putting her in front of the flowers, kind of trying to get the placement right with where I'm putting all these flowers. And I'm just pulling out the ones that are towards the back and adhering those down first. It takes a little bit of time to get them all just right, but after I got them adhered down, I popped the girl up on a little bit of foam adhesive so I could place her in front of the flowers. and I just adhered her down that way. I like using a little foam adhesive on some of my dies just to give a little bit of dimension and a little bit of interest to my cards. Making sure she's in the right place there before I really stick her down. And I really love the way she just has this cluster of flowers all around her with a little bit of that ink blending in the background. I thought this was a really neat card. Just some really unique images from these stamp sets. I really loved working with them. And I think for the last thing that I did here, just to add a little bit of sparkle, is I brought some sequins out. I've been a little bit obsessed with finishing off all of my cards with some sequins lately, and I really like these Nouveau sequins that I've been playing with. I think these are Nouveau diamond sequins. They're clear, but they seem to pick up the color from a lot of your embellishments and your images that you put on your cards. They kind of just play off the colors that you use. So I went ahead and I arranged some on there, and I also picked out a few bigger sequins from another mix so I could mix up the sizes a little bit, and I'm just adhering these all down with a little bit of glossy accents. I like the glossy accents for my sequins because it dries clear, so you won't see any glue peeking out from behind these clear sequins. And I'm just carefully adhering them down to my card, and sometimes I find I need to move one a little bit, so I just grab my little palette knife or little tool that I have on my desk and just kind of get into the right place. So this is kind of finishing off the card for today. Thank you so much for stopping by. If you want to check out any of these stamps, they're in the Spellbinders store. I'll link those below, along with a link to my blog post if you want to see more photos and more images from the stamp sets that I've used. Otherwise, thanks so much for watching. Don't forget to hit the like button or comment. Leave me a comment telling me what you think of this card or anything that you'd like to see in the future. Otherwise, thanks so much for watching, and I hope to see you next time. Bye.